Some people in our life like inflicting disruption and harm, which is a hard fact. Imagine enjoying moments with someone you trust, only to find out later that they are the cause of your problems. Today we delve deeply into a subject that is both intriguing and terrifying, identifying the telltale signals that someone is evil. These people can be masters of deception, concealing their actual selves behind charm and charisma, whether they be friends, coworkers, or even family. We're not merely investigating this sinister aspect of human nature today out of curiosity. Comprehending these indicators has the potential to transform lives. The Stoics valued the importance of leading a life governed by virtue and reason, as well as the strength of perception. In keeping with the Stoic values of knowledge and self-control, we may safeguard our mental health and build stronger bonds with others by recognizing and comprehending these harmful characteristics. Join us as we reveal 5 warning indicators of a bad individual. You will not only be more capable of identifying these behaviors by the end of this video, but you will also have learned useful strategies to protect your well-being and mental health. And if you value what we're doing, I'd love it if you could click the subscribe button as a small favor. Additionally, you won't want to miss our exclusive bonus section, so please don't skip any of the video. Number 1. Pleasant and charismatic. These people frequently have a knack of brightening a space and giving everyone in their vicinity a sense of importance and specialness. They have the perfect words to make you feel as though you've just met your new best friend. They appear to be the ideal person at first, entertaining, funny, and apparently engaged in your life. It's simple to fall for their charm and believe you found someone genuinely unique, but the Stoics urge us to see past appearances and use reason and observation to find the truth. You may begin to see minor flaws in their facade over time. Perhaps they must always be the center of attention, displacing others in social situations. They may interrupt you, talk over you, or even make fun of you in public. These are red flags, not merely eccentricities or indications of an outgoing personality. The Stoics would counsel us to view these actions objectively, free from the immediate thrill of their charisma. Imagine attending a party where this individual is the talk of the town, entertaining everyone with jokes. Being in their orbit feels fantastic at first. But as the night goes on, you see that they're controlling every discussion and making it all about themselves. When you try to contribute something about your life, they swiftly divert the topic back to them. The Stoic concept of apatheia, which refers to a state in which one is not disturbed by outside influences, is useful in this situation. By being emotionally balanced, you can see through their seductive facade and discover the self-centered attitude underneath. It's also vital to pay attention to how people respond when things don't go their way. Disagreements and disappointments will be handled with understanding and grace by someone who is truly kind and compassionate. However, someone who is only acting to win your trust could easily get defensive or upset. To restore control, they may snap or attempt to manage the circumstance. Such responses are unmistakable signs of a lack of virtue, according to Stoic philosophy. According to Marcus Aurelius, people who exhibit signals of rage and manipulation should be avoided because these are not characteristics of a good and reasonable person. Here it's important to take your time and follow your gut. The Stoics valued the ability to observe and the necessity of delaying making snap decisions based on impressions. We should carefully consider the nature of people we invite into our inner circle, according to Epictetus. Therefore, allow yourself time to observe someone's behavior over time if they seem too good to be true. Take note of their behavior toward others, particularly when they believe no one is looking. When someone isn't attempting to impress anyone, their true nature comes out in their actions. Keep in mind that not everyone who exudes charm and charisma is acting with good motives. Some people manipulate others by using their charm. By maintaining your composure and awareness, you can guard against falling for a false front. If you adhere to the Stoic values of judgment and wisdom, you'll be more capable of handling these challenging social situations. A lack of empathy is another important symptom to look out for. The capacity to comprehend and experience another person's emotions is known as empathy. It's what enables us to build genuine relationships, provide help when required, and establish deep connections with others around us. Some people, nevertheless, appear to be totally devoid of this fundamental human quality. Those around them may suffer greatly as a result of their disregard for the consequences of their words and deeds. Compassion and understanding were considered essential virtues by the Stoics. Marcus Aurelius frequently discussed the interdependence of all people and the necessity of taking into account the welfare of others as a component of our own. Therefore, it's a major warning sign when we come across someone who clearly doesn't care about other people's sentiments. Imagine confiding in a friend about something really intimate in the hopes that they will understand or offer some consolation. They dismiss your emotions or even make fun of your weakness rather than demonstrating any real concern. You may feel alone and misinterpreted as a result of this lack of empathy. Not only do they fail to support you during difficult times, but they also fail to share in your happiness or rejoice in your accomplishments. An insensitive individual won't applaud your accomplishments. They may even discredit them or claim the credit for themselves. Personal interactions are not the only context in which this behavior occurs. Consider a supervisor that pushes their employees to the brink, exhibiting no consideration for their well-being. They might demand lengthy hours without appropriate remuneration, dismiss requests for time off, or openly criticize staff in a way that's meant to humiliate rather than constructively guide. This leads to a poisonous workplace where employees feel anxious and underappreciated. Since others' lack of empathy is a reflection of their character rather than ours, the Stoics would counsel us to preserve our inner serenity and integrity in such circumstances. Moreover, a lack of empathy may result in darker actions. Individuals who lack empathy may act in ways that are blatantly harsh or without any sorrow or sense of guilt. Without considering the suffering they are causing, they may cheat, lie, or even hurt someone physically. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher, taught that our deeds should always be a reflection of our inner virtue and stressed the value of kindness and fairness. A person is essentially cut off from these ideals when they lack empathy. Smaller, more routine encounters can reveal a lack of empathy. For instance, you may observe that someone is uninterested in what other people are saying, frequently interrupts talks to talk about themselves, or refuses to assist when assistance is obviously needed. These may initially appear to be small irritations, but they accumulate to a pattern of behavior that indicates a more serious problem. The Stoics would advise us to be perceptive and wise, realizing that these minor clues reveal a person's actual nature. It's critical to establish limits with someone who continuously lacks empathy in order to safeguard your own mental and emotional well-being. The Stoics held that preserving our own well-being and preventing the negativity of others from upsetting our tranquility were crucial. You have the right to keep your distance from people who deplete your vitality and make you feel bad. Manipulation is another key indicator of a bad individual. When someone controls or influences others to achieve their goals, they are engaging in manipulation. It's a subtle, frequently sneaky behavior that can do a great deal of harm to the person who is experiencing it. In order to achieve their goals, manipulators are adept at distorting circumstances, making you doubt reality, and compromising your will. You may feel perplexed, helpless, and uncertain of your own judgment as a result. Let's consider manipulation from a Stoic standpoint. The capacity to view things as they really are, and to think clearly, were important to the Stoics. They taught us to keep our convictions unwavering in the face of outside pressure, and to base our perceptions on reality. When someone manipulates you, they are trying to skew reality and obscure your senses, making it hard for you to adhere to these Stoic principles. When someone tries to make you question your own memory, perception, or sanity, it's known as gaslighting. They may deny that certain incidents occurred, or they may misrepresent your words and deeds to blame you. Let's take an example where you confront a friend about something they said that harmed you. They might even accuse you of being excessively sensitive or forgetting the facts rather than admitting it. Your self-confidence may be damaged, and you may become dependent on the manipulator's interpretation of events. Playing the victim is another skill that manipulators possess. They could make you feel accountable for their pleasure or well-being, which could guilt-trip you into doing things you don't want to do. It's possible that you have a friend that is always whining about their issues and expects you to drop everything to help them, but they never support you back. "If you were really my friend, you'd do this for me," they would remark, putting pressure on you to comply. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus, stressed the significance of knowing what we can and cannot control. Only how we react to other people's behavior and feelings is within our control. Think about how a manipulator might use charm or flattery to achieve their goals. This can feel wonderful at first since they may compliment you and make you feel unique. But as time passes, you may discover that their compliments have conditions. When they require you to do anything for them or when they want something from you, they may compliment you. This may give you the impression that you owe them something, or that you must meet their standards in order to keep their favor. True goodness and self-worth originate from inside. not from the ephemeral acceptance of others, as the Stoics would remind us. Isolation is another sort of manipulation. A manipulator may attempt to isolate you from your loved ones, increasing your reliance on them, saying things like, "Your family doesn't understand you like I do," or "Your friends don't really care about you," makes it simpler for them to control you since you become more dependent on them for approval and support. Since humans are social creatures who flourish in communities, the Stoics advocated for preserving solid, sustaining bonds with others. Since isolation reduces our support system and increases our susceptibility to manipulation, it goes against these ideals. Malicious individuals also employ financial manipulation as a strategy. They might borrow money and never repay it, or they might control your finances to limit your independence. For instance, a partner can insist on handling all the money in the relationship, making you seek for permission to spend anything. You may find it challenging to exit the relationship or declare your independence if you have this financial influence. To avoid being unduly influenced or governed by others, the Stoics would advise us to strive for independence and self-sufficiency. It might be difficult to identify manipulation for what it is, particularly if you have feelings for the person being manipulated. The Stoics educate us to see things clearly, act honorably, and be watchful and perceptive. Step back and evaluate the situation impartially if you think someone is manipulating you. Do they constantly put their needs before of yours? Do they cause you to doubt yourself or feel guilty? Are they attempting to isolate you from other people or exert control over some areas of your life? With manipulators, it's critical to establish clear limits and maintain your position. Express what you will and won't tolerate in a straightforward and forceful manner. Never forget that you are entitled to your own opinions, feelings, and behavior. The Stoics remind us that although we have no influence over other people's actions, we do have power over our own. We may defend ourselves against the negative consequences of manipulation and uphold our moral principles by preserving our inner fortitude and clarity. Controlling behavior is one of the most obvious indicators of a wicked person. This goes beyond just preferences or quirks. It's about someone who attempts to dominate every part of your life, leaving little room for your own autonomy and decisions. Controlling people frequently pose as caring or concerned, but their true motivation is power and control. This conduct would be viewed by the Stoics, who cherished individual liberty and self-discipline, as essentially at odds with leading a moral life. There are numerous ways that controlling behavior might appear. For instance, you can have a friend who insists on always picking where you go and what you do together. Although it may appear innocuous at first, you gradually come to understand that your choices and viewpoints are routinely disregarded or superseded. Sayings like, "I know what's best for us," or "You'll have more fun if you just listen to me," are examples of one person imposing their will on another. They don't involve both parties making decisions. Controlling behavior can become even more harmful in partnerships. Your partner may keep tabs on your whereabouts, insist on regular reporting on your actions, and even restrict who you are allowed to visit. They may search your phone, go through your texts, or demand to know all of your passwords. You may feel confined and uneasy as a result of this type of monitoring and micromanagement, always having to tread carefully to avoid confrontation. The Stoics, especially Epictetus, stress the need of preserving your inner independence and self-reliance in the face of outside influences. Financial manipulation is another way to exert control. A domineering spouse or relative may make all financial decisions, allocating funds as they see fit and maintaining your financial reliance. You may be deprived of your financial independence and find it harder to exit the relationship or make your own decisions if they say things like, "I handle the money because you're not good with finances," or "It's easier if I just take care of everything." The Stoics saw financial control as a kind of servitude that needed to be fought, and they promoted self-sufficiency and prudent resource management. Isolation is another manifestation of dominating behavior. Claiming to be the only one who genuinely understands you, a controlling person may attempt to isolate you from friends and family, or is concerned about you. Over time, you may become more and more alone, depending only on the controlling person for comfort and company. They may insult your loved ones, stating things like your family is toxic or your friends don't really care about you. The Stoics view isolation as harmful to one's well-being and personal development, and they value community and supporting ties. In order to keep their position of authority, controlling people frequently resort to intimidation and threats. If you don't follow their instructions, they may threaten to hurt you, abandon you, or even damage themselves. This fosters a climate of fear and anxiety that makes it challenging to think properly or make the best choices for yourself. Seneca and other Stoics advised us to confront our fears and resist the urge to be subdued by others. Regaining our own authority and resisting such attacks are the hallmarks of true courage and wisdom. It's critical to realize that controlling behavior aims to essentially undermine your capacity to make your own decisions and lead your own life, going beyond simply wanting things done a specific manner. The Stoics would counsel us to see these actions for what they are: a breach of our personal freedom and an assault on our autonomy. By adhering to our principles and preserving our inner fortitude, we may fend off the influence of domineering people and recover our freedom. It's critical to establish clear boundaries and declare your independence if you're dealing with someone who acts in a controlling manner. Talk openly about your needs and boundaries, and don't be scared to ask for help from people who are sympathetic to your predicament. Recall that the Stoics teach us that while we have no control over other people, we do have control over our own responses and choices. We may defend ourselves against the negative consequences of controlling behavior and lead more genuine, satisfying lives by being rooted in our values and appreciating our individuality. Pathological lying is another telltale indicator of a nasty individual. This goes beyond the white lies that most individuals tell from time to time. People who are pathological liars lie all the time, frequently for no apparent reason. To fit themselves or to get an advantage over others, they make up stories, change facts, and warp reality. Relationships can suffer greatly from this behavior, since it undermines trust and weaves a web of dishonesty that is hard to unravel. Integrity and truth were the most important things to the Stoics. They held that being dishonest was a basic violation of one's character, and that leading a moral life was based on honesty. Marcus Aurelius placed a strong emphasis on living in harmony with nature, which entails coordinating our deeds with logic and truth. Pathological liars are living in stark contrast to these ideals, fabricating a world that serves their own interests. The manifestations of pathological lying are numerous. Small, seemingly innocuous lies, such as exaggerating a tale to make oneself appear better or more interesting, could be the first step. These lies have the potential to worsen over time, concealing errors or transgressions and controlling others to further their objectives. A pathological liar could pretend to have accomplished things they haven't, falsely take credit for others' efforts, or make up stories about their background to elicit sympathy or admiration. This persistent dishonesty generates a warped vision of reality, where you can never be sure what's true and what's contrived. Think about how a pathological liar may behave at work. To undermine them, they could fabricate stories about coworkers, inflate their contributions to projects, or lie about their credentials. This can lead to a poisonous atmosphere where individuals are always on edge and unsure of whom to believe. The Stoics would counsel us to uphold our own moral principles and not let the dishonest behavior of others influence us. Epictetus advised us to ignore the dishonesty of others around us and concentrate on the things we can control, such as our own thoughts and deeds. Pathological lying can be considerably more damaging in interpersonal relationships. Consider being in a relationship with someone who is always lying about their feelings, where they are, or their history. You may have feelings of insecurity, anxiety, and persistent self-doubt as a result of this behavior. You may start to question your recollection or your intuition, which is just what the liar wants. In order to keep you off balance and preserve control, they thrive on causing uncertainty and confusion. The Stoics would advise us to follow our own instincts and not let other people's manipulations influence us. Seneca taught us that genuine calm originates within, and that we shouldn't let other people's dishonesty disrupt our inner serenity. The fact that pathological lying is frequently hard to identify at first is one of its most pernicious features. It's difficult not to accept pathological liars because they may be so convincing, delivering their lies with such assurance and specificity. They may conflate lies and truth, making it increasingly harder to tell what is true. The Stoic idea of alertness is applicable in this situation. We must continue to be perceptive and analytical, not accepting anything at face value, but instead looking for the truth via thorough analysis and supporting data. Observe how someone responds when you expose their deception. Do they start acting aggressively or defensively? Do they attempt to place the blame on you? Or do they provide a reasonable explanation that makes sense even if it's simply more dishonesty? While a pathological liar may intensify their lies and create an even more complex web of lies, a sincere person will own up to their faults and work to make amends. In the face of such behavior, the Stoics would advise us to maintain our composure and reason, to see it for what it is, and not let it agitate us. It's crucial to take into account the long-term effects of pathological lying. It has the potential to weaken the trust that is the basis of any relationship over time. Rebuilding trust is extremely difficult once it has been damaged. You can find yourself continuously suspicious, always wondering if you're being misled again. A poisonous cycle of distrust and animosity may result from this. Building solid, sincere relationships based on respect and understanding was important to the Stoics. When dealing with a compulsive liar, you must decide if it's worth trying to regain that trust or whether it's healthier to distance yourself from their harmful influence. It's critical to establish clear boundaries and safeguard your own mental and emotional health if you find yourself in a relationship with a pathological liar. The Stoics would counsel us to uphold our own morals and ideals and not let the dishonesty of others bring us down. Don't be scared to leave a relationship or circumstance that is based on deception, and be clear about what you will and won't put up with. Keep in mind that preserving a relationship with someone who continuously defrauds you is less vital than your integrity and peace of mind. Now, how can you keep your integrity and tranquility while defending yourself against these negative behaviors? One of the most important things you can do when interacting with toxic or challenging people is to learn how to set limits. Setting boundaries is crucial for safeguarding your mental, emotional, and even physical health because it helps you define what you will and won't accept in your relationships. Setting boundaries is a basic technique for leading a moral and peaceful life according to the Stoics, who place a strong emphasis on inner calm and personal purity. Above all, it's critical to understand that establishing boundaries is about respecting yourself and making sure that others respect you, not about being cruel or harsh. The Stoics believed in the necessity of self-respect and living in harmony with our actual nature. In addition to safeguarding oneself, establishing boundaries promotes more positive relationships with other people. Clarity is essential when it comes to establishing boundaries. You must be explicit and strong in your communication about the behaviors you will not accept. For instance, you could remark, "I value our friendship, but I won't put up with being treated disrespectfully. If your friend often makes fun of you or puts you down, I will have to put some distance between us if this keeps up." This is a straightforward method that eliminates any possibility of misunderstanding. This type of straightforward communication supports the preservation of respect and order in relationships, according to Stoic ideas. Consistency is another crucial component of boundary setting. Setting boundaries once and expecting others to follow them without prompting is insufficient. Even if it is uncomfortable or challenging, you must constantly enforce your boundaries. The value of self-control and tenacity is emphasized by the Stoics, especially Epictetus. By maintaining your limits, you show respect for yourself and set an example for others. It's obvious that they don't respect you or your limitations if someone consistently pushes past them, and you might need to reevaluate your relationship. It's also critical to keep in mind that establishing boundaries is a continuous process, rather than a one-time occurrence. You may need to modify your limits as relationships change. To avoid burnout, for example, you may need to establish limits on your workload and availability in the workplace. The Stoics would encourage us to balance our responsibilities and avoid overextending ourselves to the cost of our well-being. You could remark to a coworker or superior, "I am happy to help with this project, but I cannot take on additional tasks beyond my current responsibilities." Managing any pushback or opposition you may experience is one of the most difficult parts of establishing limits. Your newfound assertiveness may not sit well with people who are used to getting their way, particularly those who have manipulative or controlling tendencies. They may respond with rage, guilt-tripping, or even an effort to make you doubt yourself. When faced with such difficulties, the Stoics urge us to maintain our composure and resolve. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the value of remaining calm and unaffected by other people's negative feelings. Remind yourself that setting boundaries is essential for your well-being, and maintain your composure when you face resistance. In certain circumstances, setting boundaries could require making painful decisions, such as removing yourself from particular persons, or even ending relationships that are poisonous or detrimental. Although it may be an unpleasant process, maintaining your mental and emotional well-being depends on it. The Stoics would remind us that our greatest responsibility is to our own virtue and well-being. Seneca frequently discussed the value of carefully selecting our relationships, acknowledging that the people we surround ourselves with have a big influence on our happiness and character. You can make a strong statement about your self-worth and dedication to leading a moral life by separating yourself from people who constantly transgress your boundaries. Asking for guidance from others when establishing boundaries is also beneficial. This could be discussing your experiences with a therapist, family member, or trusted friend in order to gain their support and advice. Sharing your boundary-setting setbacks and victories can help you gain important perspective and fortify your resolve. Community and the support of like-minded people were important to the Stoics. Marcus Aurelius frequently thought about how intertwined all people are and how crucial it is to help one another. You can find the strength to respect your boundaries and keep your well-being by relying on your support system. Furthermore, self-care is essential for establishing and upholding limits. This involves spending time for yourself, indulging in things that offer you joy and relaxation, and nourishing your physical and emotional health. The Stoics believed in the significance of self-care as a basis for a virtuous existence. For instance, Epictetus highlighted the importance of taking care of our own health in order to properly serve others and carry out our duties. Making self-care a priority helps to promote the idea that your health is valuable and should be protected. Keep in mind that establishing boundaries is a sign of self-love and respect. It's about valuing yourself and not letting other people make you less valuable. The Stoics taught us that our integrity and deeds, not outside influences, define our value. You are living in accordance with these principles and cultivating a life of serenity, virtue, and resilience by establishing and upholding boundaries. Never forget that no matter who tries to compromise your integrity and tranquility, they are valuable. Establishing limits is a statement of your self-worth and dedication to leading a moral life, not just a defensive tactic. I appreciate you being here. If this was useful to you, be sure to watch one of the recommended videos on the screen for additional information. Stay strong, stay intelligent, and keep living your truth.